Thank you both so much for coming. Really appreciate this. So we're going to start because we've been talking a lot tonight about cancel culture and the fact that it doesn't really exist, and people shouldn't worry about it. But Rosie, of course, you created this incredible dance company, award-winning company, incredible shows, and then something went wrong. Do you want to tell us what happened to you?
Yeah, I've got a terrible story, really. So, in the privacy of my own home, I got into a debate around sex and gender. I'd been 2 years into researching a dance theatre production of Orlando. And I'd been working with an LGBT group, book club, I'd been working with some trans people that I know that are friends, and I'd been trying to figure my way through it. And I think, like, Virginia Woolf says something really interesting about sex and gender in a really witty, funny, interesting, unusual way that could give us a way through, or another way to look at what's going on. And I had some young dancers at my house. They were doing a production of Romeo and Juliet, which was about to open in 10 days' time in a really huge, big stage. And when I told them that's what my next production was and that I'd be auditioning soon, they told me that I had to employ a trans person. And I said, well, at this point, I don't know. It's got to be somebody extraordinary. I mean, it could be a man, it could be a woman, it could be, trans, non-binary. I don't know. It's somebody that's got to be believable, and they've got to be an amazing dancer.
Yeah.
No, this person had to be trans. And I was like, yeah, but, I mean, did they start male and then become female? But, what about themselves? What about their own? I mean, what do they think they... Anyway, escalated to the point of kind of, like, really quite heated. I believe in the reality of sex. It descended really quickly. I thought it would blow over because I think it's, like, fair enough. You can have your views, I can have my views, but it's a production, and maybe the production is the place that we should be putting all this energy. But my board got involved. They put me through 2 separate massive investigations, including using my own company funds. And because I'd stepped down as a director for it to become a charity, I no longer had any rights to hold on to my own company. And we were a regularly funded organisation.
So this is incredible because, well, the ingratitude of it is something else. You've employed these dancers, young dancers, up and coming, presumably.
Also offering work through COVID. I really felt a responsibility. I'd made a solo show through COVID based on my own lived experience as a female dancer, as a woman, as a mother, as a victim of sexual assault inspired by J.K. Rowling. It got 4 or 5 stars. It had done really well. I wanted to make sure that young dancers, some of them hadn't even had their graduation shows because of COVID. I was putting them on the main stage, immediately. I wanted to sort of have some hope right through that terrible period that we'd be up and running when the theatres open again, because there is a problem, there's a dearth of good productions out there right now because nobody's been making productions through COVID. So we've got a real issue right now that theatres are facing real serious hardships, and we need work to be ready to go.
But what kind of mindset, and of course I'm not asking you to speculate what other people are thinking, but, if I were a young dancer, which I used to be, well, I did ballet. Anyway, I can still do a changement. So, if you have these young dancers, and they, if I were employed, I wouldn't, and I was invited over to my boss's house for dinner, the first thing I wouldn't do is berate them about who their casting choices should be, and then have a go at them at their own party, and then try and get them sacked. It's weird, isn't it?
When you've joined a company who, over 25 years, my reputation's been built on making strong political work from a feminist female perspective.
Right.
And the body and a woman's perspective is key to all of my work. But I've also looked at brainwashing in cults. Yeah. So that's really interesting. I think there's something, you said it a while ago, and I think it's something really interesting, like this whole relationship between apprentice and master. So when I was young, I was still in quite an old school kind of environment of training in dance. You learnt from a master who had learnt directly from Martha Graham or from Merce Cunningham, and they handed that to you bit by bit, however much you could take. You never know when as a dancer suddenly it'll click. There seems to be now this sense that actually teaching and directing and correcting, that in itself is some kind of act of oppression.
I mean, it's incredible, isn't it?
It's sad.
You've been called all sorts of names and slurred. People have been absolutely horrible about it. And it's I don't think the far right are sort of advancing their ideas through left-wing feminist dance.